24/7 Laredo Talk Show is an independent and original news channel dedicated to local topics relating to everyday issues that affect Laredo, Webb County, and surrounding areas. Any comments made by guests are not a reflection of the views and opinions of the 24/7 Laredo team. However, we intend to offer a community program with wide-ranging views and opinions that reflect our community's people. No abusive or obscene comments toward any class of people or persons will be tolerated. We believe that an informed community is the way to move Laredo and Webb County forward. 24/7 Laredo Talk Show is open to any candidate running for office or any person who strongly believes in any issue that helps our community stay informed. If you would like to advertise on the show, you can email us at bordertown2020@gmail.com.
Welcome, Laredo. Good morning. This is another episode of 24/7 Laredo Talk Show. Hello, I'm your host, Jesus Garza. This is an original, free, and independent news channel talking about issues affecting Laredo. We're pretty fortunate to have our Councilman, Roberto Balli, who's actually Councilman for District number, I believe it's 8.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So thank you for joining us, Councilman.
Thank you.
So many questions that I want to ask you. But I think I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and then as we go along, hopefully we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. We can come back and update the public about other issues that are going on. But before we start talking about the race, could you tell us, Councilman, what is your district? What encompasses your district?
Well, District 8 is the western or southwestern part of the city. It almost mirrors the Martin High School district, which is, it's all of downtown. It's everything west of Zacate Creek, all the way up until Chicago Street, all the way west to the river. And then there's a little part of it that does cross Zacate Creek, just a little bit east, around like the old Tomas Sanchez area, out south along Zacate Creek on that eastern part, but just a few blocks. But most of it is it's like, it mirrors Martin High School.
So I guess if you went to Martin High School, then chances are you're going to end up voting in your district pretty much.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Okay, well, let me ask you, now you've been a councilman for 4 years. You're asking to be
almost 6.
Almost 6, okay.
Yeah.
Now, how, there are people though outside your district who don't know who you are. Could you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, sure. I grew up in Laredo. I've got a lot of siblings. A lot of people know my siblings because I have older brothers and sisters that went to Martin. A lot of people know them. And I had one brother, my younger brother, who went to Nixon. He's an attorney in Laredo.
Right.
My oldest sister's an attorney. But we grew up from a very humble family. My dad was in the military. He retired from the Air Force. Actually, he's from Victoria, Texas. He picked Laredo because there was an Air Force base way back when. And my mom is from Nuevo Laredo. So it was a natural place for them to raise a family back in the late 1960s. So most of us were born at military bases. I was born in Laredo at the Laredo Air Force Base. And but then we were raised here for the most part. I was raised here almost all my life here. Went to school here, studied. I got a degree from TAMU back when it was Laredo State in business, got a master's in business, went to law school. And I've been practicing law for like 24 years. I'm married. I've got 3 kids, 2 older ones. I've got a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and right now we've got a baby that just turned 1 year old. And
Starting all over again.
we're very happy about that. Yes.
Good. Good. Well, then, with the pandemic that's going on, of course, you're married, of course, to Claudia Balli.
Yeah. And she's on the school board and she's a lawyer too.
Right. So you are a pretty busy and very busy people. But how during this period of time, with the pandemic going on, how do you talk to your public, or how do you talk to your constituents?
Well, I think you do the same thing that we're all doing in business, and the same thing we're doing in our law practice is that we're taking phone calls, a lot of phone calls, and then identifying issues. Like people will call and they may have an issue, a fallen tree or branches or a speed bump. So they'll call and ask for these things, and then we work with them that way through telephone a lot during the pandemic, which is safest way for everybody.
Pretty much nothing really changed except you just seeing them through telephone, emails, even through Zoom, and even Skype even as well.
Yeah, that's right.
In communication with the public. Now, you've been, like you said, been there for at least 4 years. You had an opportunity to do several projects. Which projects are you the most proud of? Well,
several of them. One of them is we made a lot of improvements around Martin High School, or what we call the Four Corners out here on the west side. And most people have been to the old Civic Center, so familiar with the fact that there's not intersections. You have school after school after school. We have Martin, Kristen, Leindecker. There's a fire department, PAC. So there's no intersection. So that area has always been used as a walking area by the public. So for exercise, and it's not like some of the small elementary schools. It's huge. It's a huge area. It's 1.3 miles. So it made a great deal of improvements. Repaved all the streets there. Redid the sidewalks. Widened the sidewalks around the Four Corners. Quadrupled the lighting in the area. Changed all the lighting to LED. And then the next step is adding cameras. And the whole purpose of all of this was so that when kids are getting out of school late or going to school very early, sometimes they're getting coming back from a football game and they walk home. We have a lot of kids that walk home or walk back and forth to school. And so we improved the lighting greatly in the area, improved the sidewalks in the area, and made it safer. But in addition, especially right now during the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of people using it the way we intended. A lot of families out there with strollers, walking at night, getting their exercise. They feel now, you can tell that people feel the difference of the lighting, that it's much safer with all the lighting we have. And the sidewalks being wider, inviting.
That, Councilman, because really you don't have a park area. You don't really have a park in your district that's big enough for the whole community. So you really converted Martin High School as your base, as your park.
Sure, certainly. And we also did something similar along one portion of Zacate Creek. There's a portion of Zacate Creek that's a straightaway. It goes from Lyon or Jefferson all the way up to Chicago, like by Dr. Ike's. And that area it's the only part of the creek that's straight, because it's really just a drainage canal at that point.
Right.
And we added $250,000 worth of lights in that straightaway because it already has cycling trails. It already has sidewalks that go underneath the Lafayette Bridge and the Lafayette Saunders Bridge, right, and also the Lyon Jefferson Bridge, so that people, when they're on bicycles, they can skip those streets and they can go underneath it. And so we added a huge amount of lighting. We added light poles with lighting. And what it did was it connects all the parks, and it actually connects to a couple of other districts, Nelly Vielma's district and Albert Torres's district. So it all the way from Taylor, like the Dr. Ike's baseball field, right, to Blues Field, to the Inner City Recreation Center, Inner City Pool. And then we've got a whole bunch of different parks along Zacate Creek, soccer fields, baseball fields. And so we connected all of that with this, but the lighting was the most important component, because at night, if people don't feel safe, they will not use the area. And what we're seeing during the pandemic is now people starting to use that
Do you
area.
think the West Side is a safe area to raise children?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. We do have our challenges, though, because it's the oldest part of the city. We have a lot of people that moved out of the neighborhoods back in back in the day, that's their family home. They went to Kristen, they went to Martin, and then they're raising a family somewhere else. And so some of these houses that, let's say grandma owned,
Yes.
end up being abandoned because there's too many heirs. You have 5, 6 heirs in the family and they can't agree on it, and they just leave the home and it gets abandoned. So we have issues like that we've tried to resolve over the years. For example, we had in San Francisco Javier, we had 2 abandoned houses. People were going there a block from the church and using it for drugs. And so the city talked to the owners. We purchased the property. We purchased 2 other properties. We demolished what was there, and we built a park there. We built a pocket park in the neighborhood. And so, we've been doing things like that. In the 14 neighborhood, we got a donation of 2 abandoned houses from Javier Santos. Very graciously gave up his family homes, his former home, and we built housing for seniors, built 6 housing units. And so that was very important. That's right by Kristen Middle School. So it was a very important project to not have those abandoned properties there, because those do breed crime.
Well, now that after 4 or 6 years that you've been in office, I would imagine there's still some projects that you want to work on. I mean, what is the reason why you want to run for re-election?
Well, there certainly are projects that take you can do in a year, right? You can do sidewalks in a year, but there are other projects that take a significant period of time. I'll give you an example. I was there at the ribbon cutting of the outlet mall, right? But that didn't start with me. That started in 2008. That project, that was like 2 council members over. I was at the ribbon cutting for the beautiful, in District 8, we have the Water Museum, which has been recognized internationally. And I was there for that. I didn't start that project. So now I have projects like that I want to continue forward. The 2 biggest projects that I have right now, one is the Plaza Theater, and I've been working on that since I came in. Really excited that last night we selected the architects that are going to be working on the Plaza Theater. It's going to be a theater for performing arts, for a multi-purpose. We're going to show film as well, but it's going to be a multi-purpose theater. We selected the architects that are designing the Alameda Theater in San Antonio. So they're coming in to do this theater with us. We're really excited about opening the Plaza Theater. The other big project that we have, that one, we've put a lot of work in. We have the downtown Bruni Library. That library, from the beginning, I wanted to rebuild it. We had an issue because in the library years ago, I think previous councils at some point sort of moved away from downtown and wanted everything to go north or south. And half of the library, more than half, was used for building and planning. So it was a whole other department taken away from the children of District 8. And so what we needed was a new location for building and planning. And we found that in downtown. So now building and planning moved out this year. And they have a brand new, beautiful facility. Well, it's brand new. It's a renovated downtown building, a beautiful building, renovated. And they have now moved in. And because of that, we were able this year we're looking for architects. I think by the next council meeting, we'll select architects. And we're building a children's library. So it's going to be a downtown children's library that's going to be interactive. It's going to be like an Imaginarium,
right,
with library, and it's going to be completely enclosed.
When will you have that one be open? When do you foresee that opening?
I think both the Plaza Theater and the children's library are going to be ready in 2022. I think that's when they're going to be ready, because right now we're picking architects. Then it'll be construction in 2021, 2022, probably early 2022. We'll be opening. I mean, obviously we're timing this stuff too for the end of the pandemic. Part of the reason to award these projects as well is to create work right now that people are out of work. So we're wanting to see local people working, having jobs, building these facilities. And then when the pandemic is over and we can breathe easy, then we can take our kids to places like the Plaza Theater and the
Well, that's
Children's
going to be good
Library.
for Laredo. Another children's library will be good, or museum. And
Yes.
it's going to create more quality of life situations for downtown, which is what we need. Definitely.
Absolutely, and you know, and afterwards, whenever there's a theater or there's an outing to a children's museum, afterwards you got to eat something.
Yes.
You know, you go somewhere to eat. So it creates opportunities for other businesses to flourish in the area as well. So that's part of what's exciting about it, is one thing leads to another. And then the other thing about it is that part of the reason people moved away from downtown back in the day was, you know, there was a mall, and they wanted to be near the mall, and they wanted to be near the new library, and they wanted to be near, you know, everything that was going on somewhere else. So if you move away your amenities and you get rid of all your amenities, then there's nothing for people to do in the area. One of the nice things that we've seen is that when we moved the building and planning department, is we've got several employees that work in that department downtown that are living in the area. They're living close to downtown. So, you know, that's what you need, is you need people to be close to their jobs and close to amenities.
It seems to me that you're talking about revitalization of downtown.
Absolutely, and all the neighborhoods around it, because you know, sometimes, hey, you know, downtown becomes expensive. Hopefully it will. Right now it's not. It's cheap. So please buy a property downtown or in St. Peter's or one of the close neighborhoods.
Yes.
But you know, if you can't afford that, hey, there's the 13, there's the 14, just down the road. There's Azteca right there.
We'll be right back with Councilman Balli to keep talking about what are the changes that are coming up in downtown. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the show. We have Councilman Roberto Balli from District 8, who's here talking to us a little bit about changes that are happening in his district and, in fact, for his reelection efforts. Now, we're just talking about it, Councilman, that there are some changes coming up to downtown. Is there a plan that you are unveiling, or is there something coming up for downtown as a whole for the next year?
You know, we've been working through the comprehensive plan, and with our comprehensive plan, which is known as the Viva Laredo plan. You know, it talks about revitalization of downtown. It talks about trying to have urban density, having people live closer to the amenities. Because, you know, when we start building cities with you know, people are moving out to the edges of town, the infrastructure becomes more expensive. You're adding water lines, you're adding sewer lines, you're needing more police because they're further away, new fire stations. And one of the things about having people closer in is that you already have the water lines, you already have the sewer lines. So there's a lot of properties in downtown and in the surrounding neighborhoods, in the urban center in District 8 that are very affordable and that people can move to. So we're you know, working on, you know, bringing more amenities to the area,
right,
more safety to the area.
Well, it's very important, Councilman, as you know, I'm sure you know that downtown is our crown jewel, should be our crown jewel.
It
In
should
our
be.
community. It should be the main district where quality of life issues should be presented. We showcase Laredo in many cases like that. So I'm hopeful that we continue then improving downtown. But we'll talk about that at a later time, other issues about downtown. I do want to ask you, if you are elected councilman for the next 4 years, what other projects do you plan to work on for the whole district?
Well, there's currently lighting. One of the things that we're working on, that I've worked on, is adding lighting. I've added more lighting to District 8 than any other district over the last 4 years. I focused a lot on that. We doubled up the lighting on San Bernardo. We doubled up the lighting on Santa Maria. We quadrupled the lighting around the four corners around Martin High School. Zacate Creek, we also quadrupled the lighting along Zacate Creek, and you know, that was a very big lighting project along Zacate Creek, and we approved as a council changing the entire city's lighting to LED lighting. But in addition to changing the lighting to LED,
that must have been a very expensive matter to do.
Well, you know, it's one of those things that pays, you put money out up front, but then it ends up paying for itself by lower electricity bills. And so it does pay for itself. One of the things, one of the things that I did for lighting, and I recommend other council members to do the same, is when we added lighting, we didn't, other than Zacate Creek didn't have light poles. So we had to add them, very expensive. But it needed them in the middle of the creek because there's only lighting on either side of the creek. So we had to add it to the creek.
And I have to remind the public to some degree, Councilman, that back in the day, in the 90s and even the 2000s, we did have some violent activities going on the creek. And so by doing what y'all are doing, you're actually putting lights on the creek. You may say, well, we're wasting taxpayer dollars, but you're not, because you're keeping the community safe.
Absolutely.
By keeping those violent activities away from the neighborhoods.
Well, yeah, and it not only lights up the houses that are along the way, so I know that those folks really appreciate it, but then you're giving people an area where they can walk safely. So there's a lot of people in District 8 that walk, and there's people that are walking for exercise along the creek or along the four corners, but people that are walking, especially school kids, I mean, I see these school kids, you know, from Martin, and I mean, and that was my case. You know, I was in sports and different activities. You get out at 8:30 at night, you know, in fall, and it's dark. It's pitch dark. So you've got to light up. So you know, we've one of the things that we did to save money in these other areas was we used existing poles that didn't have lights. So instead of spending, you know, a great deal of money on a pole, $2,000 for a light, said no, let's just use poles that are there, even if they're not in the perfect place, but they're in place. For $250, we could add a light to a street, and instantly double up, triple up the lighting at an affordable price for the taxpayer.
Right.
And so yeah, that's very important, is to add lighting to the neighborhoods. But we have, you know, the big projects coming up, which of course we talked about earlier: the Plaza Theater, the Children's Library. Are some of the big.
The Plaza Theater is one of our institutions that maybe the younger generation might not be aware, but that's where all our grandparents, our parents, ourselves, we all went to the Plaza Cinema.
Well, I'll tell you this: the younger generation is very aware of the Plaza Theater. It's something they've never seen open, but it's something that across the board, everybody in the community is excited. I mean, I talked to Ms. Rendon, former council member Johnny Rendon's wife. I ran into her at Danny's about a year ago, and she told me, please get the plaza going. That's where me and Johnny met and had our first kiss. You know, these are folks in their 70s.
Right.
And then I have people in their teens and 20s, and they've never seen it open, but they're excited about the idea of seeing it open. So I think every generation wants to see the Plaza Theater succeed. Every generation.
It was a very grand movie theater back in its day, so hopefully it'll be something close to it.
I saw Bambi there, so.
There's a lot of movies as well.
Yes.
There's several other issues though that I want to bring up because we're going to run out of time. Now, one of the issues that affects the neighborhoods, not the neighborhoods, but actually the whole city, is the issue of the water bill. It keeps coming up in all the discussions that we have here on the show and outside out there, how the city has in fact improved the water to some degree. They've improved the water services. However, the water bills keeps rising. It just doesn't seem to slow down. And then there are people in our community who might not have the money to be able to afford to pay a continual increase in water. What's the status on that issue?
Well, with regard to water, when the council voted to raise the rates, I'm one of the few council members that voted against it. I voted against raising the water rates. And I understand the other council members' reasoning, because it's like anything else, if you have something, you have to invest in it. And one of the issues was they're saying we need to invest in our water system, or it needs to be improved. And it's like having a home. If you own a home, you don't fix your roof, you're gonna get water. You're gonna get water in your home, and so that's what we were trying to balance. I voted against it because in District 8, the residents that I represent have difficulty with their bills, and so it was very difficult for them raising the rate. When you're living, on fixed income, and you got another $20 that you got to pay, or $10 or $15. I mean, that takes away from something else that you need that money for. Like, it's not like you had money left over at the end of the month.
No, it just seems that the city continually hits the public with more user fees, and it doesn't end. I mean, I was just reading the story about how there's 17,000 accounts of people who haven't paid their water bill, probably because of the pandemic, and I understand that, but obviously there's an issue here that I hope that the city council can reconsider in the future.
Well, we actually during the pandemic, early on, I think as early as March, or maybe it was April, we set out a fund. We set aside money where people who were unemployed because of the pandemic and could show that, like through Texas Workforce Commission, were able to tap into grant money to pay their utility bill. So what we've seen is that not a lot of people have taken advantage of that. And so we asked at a recent council meeting, we asked management to promote that more. So they actually, in the most recent water bill, they're letting people know that if that's their situation, that they can tap into that program. And there's money. It's unused. The money is gone. A lot of it is gone unused.
So there is a lot of money. Not a lot of money.
They can tap into that to pay their bill.
Right. So I'm glad that y'all are doing that, because that's going to help a lot of people who are being affected by this matter. The other issue, again, is a little bit more controversial. The issue dealing with this discretionary fund. I mean, there's a $20 million or so budget shortfall, allegedly, or at least that's what was mentioned from the city. And again, the city council, each councilman gets $500,000 or $600,000 per year for that, to take care of their initial projects within their district, or normally that's the way it's done.
Right.
It still doesn't look as good, because it seems to me like the public has been saying for many years that if you do have issues, then the budget should pay for it and not the city councilman. And it lends itself for some potential fraud. So my question to you is, wouldn't it be best to avoid that argument, just get the city council to put the money back in, or put most of it, and maybe just set aside $50,000, $100,000 for discretionary funding? I mean, wouldn't it be better so that way that issue can be resolved? Because it seems that every year that issue comes up again continuously.
Okay. Well, a couple of things I can say about that is we presented a balanced budget was presented and approved. So there was no shortfall. We had less revenue, but there's two choices, obviously, when you have a smaller budget than the year before. We did the better. We did
monies from other accounts that were not used, or
some. We did some of that, and then we did hiring freezes. And so we shifted people from one department to another. So we worked with a smaller budget. That's the first thing. Second is this year we worked without any district priority funds or discretionary funds. We worked without that. One of the things that I can say that I think is very positive about the district priority fund is that the person who is identifiable to the citizens is their own council member. And the person that the citizens will call on is their own council member. And so with the district priority funds is that the council members are because they're talking to the residents, they're in the best position to know which are the projects in their district that really need to get funded. And if there wasn't that district priority fund, there's a lot of smaller projects, sidewalks, for example, lighting, that would not get.
That makes sense. I mean, I do know that you're probably using for the right reasons. The only thing is that it just seems to me that the city manager should just fund those projects in the budget, you know.
Well, I mean,
it's up to you guys to have to fund it.
Well, and it's all part of the same budget. I mean, it's not like it's part of the same budget. But the one thing is, for example, let's say you're represented by a council member that's one of the least popular council members, and maybe they have issues getting funding. But with the district priority fund, every district gets a fair amount of money. No district, no person who lives in a part of the city can say, hey, you know what? How come they're only investing in, they say it anyway, but how come they're only investing in north, or how come they're only investing in south, and why don't they invest in west? It gives that council member an opportunity to make park improvements sometimes that otherwise wouldn't get made in the district.
Right.
You know,
well, just like I mentioned to you, it just seems to me that the city manager should just provide more funding for you all and allow and put in a regular budget. But I have another couple of issues real quick. One more issue that I want to bring up. The issue of the retirement eligibility that was put into the budget about a year ago, 2 years ago. And there's that will also continue to be an issue, that why are councilmen getting paid retirement eligibility when they really are working part-time on this particular job? Is there any truth to that, or should there be? I mean, is there a good reason why we should have retirement for the city councilman?
Well, and actually, what happened was that this issue came up because municipal court has always received retirement and the council members have not. So a letter from
municipal court judge.
Municipal court judge, right? Municipal court judge who's an elected official,
right?
And so a letter was written to the Texas Municipal League through our city attorney's office, and not at my request, but a letter was written, requesting an opinion on whether or not there should be retirement for council members. The opinion was that the city had to do it for all elected officials or for no elected officials. So either municipal court has been receiving it inappropriately, or council members have not been receiving it inappropriately. But it was one or the other. And the municipal league said that there needed to be paid council members.
Which makes sense. I mean, it should all be treated the same, and I agree with you there. But again, it goes back to why would even the municipal court judge be receiving eligibility for retirement? It doesn't make sense. Everyone is a public official. You come and go every 4 years.
Right.
So unless you're a city employee, I mean, full-time, then of course it's a different story. But that's neither here nor there. That's another topic. We'll talk about that at a later time. I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to just get down to it again. You, a few days ago, you actually tried to pass a bill to propose to help downtown again with some of the business people, the local bar scene, or some of the local, the people who lost a lot of jobs and businesses that were closed down downtown. How is that what's going to happen there?
Well, what happened is that a couple of weeks ago, TABC came up with some new rules to allow bars to be able to open, because one of the requirements was that there was you have to be serving a certain amount of food to be considered a restaurant. Restaurants can open, bars could not. So TABC changed the rules to try to help local businesses or businesses, bar businesses, to stay open. So it required now that they serve food, but allowed them to sell, not have a full kitchen, to not have to change their business structure. So they could sell cold foods,
Right.
they could sell sandwiches, they could sell prepackaged food, hot dogs or burritos, things they put in the microwave, or nachos with cheese, corn in a cup, things like that. So it allowed them, as long as they start serving food and that food is 50% of their business, for them to go ahead and open. And so what Councilmember Marta Martinez and I, we placed an item on the agenda to allow staff to go out and provide education to the bars. There's a lot of confusion. A lot of times, during the pandemic, there's a lot of new rules, but people don't know what they are, and they don't know what they can do. And so we said, let's have public meetings. So there's a public meeting scheduled for this Friday, being set up by management, so that bar owners can know what they can do to comply with these new rules. And I think several council members will be on there, as well as the police department. So, we want to make sure our police department knows what the rules are too, and that the public knows, and that everybody's on the same
Will there
page.
be any financial assistance to the bars, to the club owners in downtown?
Well, one of the things that we did is we do have a CARES package that people can tap into through our economic development department. So there is some relief there.
Okay. Well, hopefully that y'all can keep talking about that, because a lot of people in downtown were affected. I mean, I don't know how many businesses in downtown were affected, Councilman, but I would imagine at least 30 to 40 businesses. You had a good nightlife activity going on.
Oh yeah.
Before the pandemic, and it just got all lost.
And one of the things that one of my projects early on was trying to redefine downtown and bring more restaurants and bars. And it took a while, but in 2019, it really took off. It really took off in 2019. When we started, there was only a few bars that are already been operating, but it took off in 2019. Early 2020 was really booming.
It really was.
And then March came, and boom. So it will come back. This pandemic will end, and it will come back.
Well, I was very impressed with the young people in their 20s and 30s, even 40s, who actually took their dream to open a business and went to downtown and made a strong effort to try to open those businesses. It said a lot about them. It said a lot about the character of our community, and the fact that the city was also a partner, was allowing them to open, was allowing them to grow.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of things to assist. We're closing off streets. We moved we opened we're opening right now. We're in the construction phase of a new downtown police substation right in the where the bars are. It even has holding cells, so that people don't have to be taken to county jail. They could be held there for a little while and released, or they don't have to be taken. They could be booked in case they're going to be arrested. They could be booked there. They don't have to be taken to the north side, and then they can.
That's totally a different ballgame there, because you're going to save money too. They won't.
Well, but it's public safety, because one of the things drinking is people enjoy that, but some people enjoy it too much, and so we need everybody else to be safe.
Exactly. Safety is number one. Talking about safety, in closing here, Councilman, what do you tell people concerning the pandemic right now, how they should behave and act, follow mitigation?
I've learned a lot. And one of the most important things is to be very careful in enclosed spaces. People, the rules allow people to go to like their relatives' houses or whatever, but only in small groups, only up to 10 people. If you do that, do it, but just, get several tables, sit away from each other. If it's you and your wife and your kids at one table, stay at that table. Don't invite anyone else to that table. You can actually, if you're outdoors, you don't need the mask. If you're 10 feet away, you can actually socialize outdoors. Your breath goes into the air. But once you come into these enclosed spaces, it's very dangerous. You go visit your mom and your dad, You don't think there's anything wrong with it, but once you're inside the house, that becomes very dangerous. If you're going to go visit them to take groceries, go in, go out, drop off the groceries, go outside, talk to them from outside the door, because it's that close interaction for 10 minutes at a time where you're breathing each other's air. That's what's really dangerous. So, just try to stay away.
I do commend the city council because you have taken this issue and for the most part did the right moves.
We have, and we
a lot of lives as far as I'm concerned.
Just stay, hopefully we're seeing, a US vaccine, we're seeing a Russian vaccine, we're seeing a Chinese vaccine. So hopefully one of these vaccines or all of them are good vaccines, and maybe things will be turning around and at the end of this year or sometime next year. So just, everybody do your best to not get your family members sick or get sick yourselves. Stay healthy, exercise, take advantage that the outdoor air is good for you. It's healthy for you. You can stay away from people, just don't congregate, after, go out for a walk, go out for a run, ride your bicycle, walk with your family. Just, we can make it through this. So we don't have a lot longer to go. Just be patient.
That's right. In closing here, Councilman, you're one of maybe 5 candidates running for city council. What qualification do you believe you have that's unique, that you believe should merit your reelection?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I'm of all the candidates, I'm the best all-around candidate for several reasons. One is first, I'm the only one that has served and knows what you have to do in this position. So I have experience. I've got projects that are already moving forward. So I can bring the residents the best projects, deliver the best projects over the next 4 years because I'm working towards some really good projects right now. Second is I'm a taxpayer. Not all of the candidates are taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer. I own 5 properties in Laredo. I pay taxes. I know what it's like. I don't like my property taxes to go up. I don't like my water bills to go up. So I'm going to be frugal because I pay a lot every year. I pay a lot every year in taxes. Now, I wasn't born with the silver spoon in my mouth. I was born from very humble family. So if I have stuff now, it's because I've earned it. I've worked hard over the years. I've got a law degree. I've got 2 business degrees. I've got a master's in business administration. So I come from a business background. I taught business for 12 years at TAMU. I've got the law background. These are really good backgrounds to have when you're a council member. I run a small business. I know what small business people are going through right now. We're going through it, and we've had to adapt. My wife and I have had to adapt. We've adapted. And we're successful in what we're doing.
You even cut your own hair now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. My wife cuts my hair. She does cut my hair.
Well, you know what? I want to thank you. By the way, where can people reach you if they're actually want to either join your campaign or want to ask you some questions? Where can they find you?
The easiest way is some people will find me on social media, on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook, or they'll call the law office phone number. And I have an assistant when I'm not answering the phone. My assistant answers the phone. So, you called on Sunday and I picked up the line, didn't I?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Again, Councilman, good luck on the campaign trail. Thank you. Hopefully we'll see you again. I'm looking forward to talking to you in a couple of weeks as well, see where you're at.
Okay.
And also I want to remind the public that in fact, the election is set for November 3rd. The deadline to register as a new voter in the district, or to vote period, is October I believe it's October the 5th, and the actual early voting begins October 13th. So I remind everyone to please get ready to start hearing about the candidates, get themselves educated, and go out and vote. Councilman, thank you again for being here, and the public, I want to thank you for listening. I look forward to talking to you again. Until then, on behalf of 24/7 Laredo, we wish you all a good, safe, and blessed day. Thank you.